military industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear itself. Fear itself. Fear itself. Where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
My prepper brothers and sisters, you've arrived at the bunker. Grab a cup of joe, a stout tea, or maybe your favorite adult beverage. This is the prepper's place for open discussion on whatever the hell we want. Brought to you whatever the hell way we want. This is the new format of Top's Bunker. So sit down, kick back, post up, relax, and welcome to the bunker.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Military industrial complex.
And we as a people will get to the promised land.
We will make America strong again, proud again, safe again. We will make America great again.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's fine. It's hard to work out there when you're in the, direct sunlight and 100-degree weather, especially at my age. So, all right. So tonight we're talking about MAGs, mutual assistant groups. What are they? Why they're important, how to create or join one maybe. We first introduced you guys to MAGs back in February on episode 181 during our series on prepper groups. Talked about it a little bit. Well, tonight we're doing a deep dive into mutual assistant groups with someone who knows all about them. He lives it, built it, teaches it, is writing a book about it. Retired fireman, captain, survivalist, homesteader, author, and podcaster, amongst many other things. Brent Weir is on with us tonight. Brent, welcome to the show. It's great to have you, man.
Thank you very much. And not retired anymore. They brought me back on here a year and a half ago, and so now I'm back. I'm a captain on Engine 5, and I also have a technical rescue rig and a ladder truck that's under my command every day. So yeah, I'm back at it.
So I read that on your bio that, and I don't even know if we can't talk about it, that's fine. But after like 20 years, you got fired from the fire department because of a mandatory COVID-19 vaccination.
No, we can talk about it all day. Yeah, no, 19 and a half years on. I was one of the first guys to get COVID up in this neck of the woods. And got it, was sick for a couple of days, got better. And then for the next year and a half, was going into houses, apartments, full of sick people. And I didn't get sick one time. We took care of all these people during the whole COVID thing. Then our governor up here, Inslee, decided that he wanted to put out a mandate that healthcare workers needed to get the vaccine. And our fire department said, hey, you need to get the vaccine. And I personally didn't think that I didn't need it. Number one, I had natural immunity. I went and got tested. But also, too, I thought, this is not a tested vaccine. This is not, that's a whole nother story, right? My brother is involved with medical testing of drugs and things of that nature. And he's like, this is not good. This has not been tested properly. And they were trying to force us. So I asked for an exemption. They said, well, we can give you your exemption, but we can't accommodate you. And so we're going to fire you. And they fired me and 3 other guys from our department. And they wanted us to sign. If we signed off all our rights and admitted that we're willing to go away, that they would give us extra money. And I probably lost about 25 grand because I said, nope, I'm not signing anything. And they fired me. I was off for 13 months. And then they realized that everybody that got the vaccine was still getting sick. And I was healthy as can be. And they were short people and they were short experience. And they said, would you come back? And I said, sure, I'll come back. So back to work.
I heard stories about that, but never actually talked to somebody who's been through it. And it's just horrible. I'm not a fan, first of all, of the vaccines. I didn't get any. And I was in for the entire time through COVID, I was in new construction of multifamily living. And I was in and out of people's apartments, and I was around construction, hundreds of construction people face to face all day long. And I never got COVID, never, not even once, never even felt sick. And I never got the vaccine. And I have friends and family who have gotten the vaccine and not only got COVID again once or twice after the vaccine, but they also haven't felt very great since they got the vaccine. I'm not a fan of it, man.
Imagine that. Let me ask you this. Do you have a O or O positive blood?
I have the one that's rare.
Okay. Well, I know that a lot of people, if they have O positive or O blood, that they were less likely to get it. So I was just curious, but and we saw what happened through that, right? The vaccines didn't work like they said they did. And a lot of people still got sick. And, who knows what the long-term effects are, whether through infertility or other issues that people may have. So, I pray and hope that people heal up and that they don't do that to us again.
Yeah, there's no way to tell what was being injected into people.
Well, I'm about personal freedom, right? Like if somebody wants to get that vaccine, okay, go ahead, but don't force me to do it, right? It's about liberty and about freedom. And if I say, hey, I don't want it, I shouldn't be forced to get that. And I have friends that got it, and I don't think anything less of them. You can argue the effectiveness of it and all that, and whether it was tested properly, but I'm not going to hold that against them. But don't force me to do it by threatening to take away my livelihood, to throwing me out on the streets and my family with no health care and no paycheck. That's wrong to me.
Yeah, and threatening to not give you a hospital bed over somebody else who did get vaccinated.
Oh, that was bad. Yep.
Terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, but we move on in life, right? And hopefully we've learned lessons, and hopefully people saw that and won't be fooled again, right? We'll see how that goes.
Are you writing a book about mags?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little history. So Project 223 Preparedness, that's my little company that I got here, and I have a podcast, the Project 223 podcast. And back kind of 2020, remember the Antifa and the BLM riots and all that, and defund the police. And it looked like the world was falling apart. And a bunch of us were like, gosh, man, this is crazy. And at my church, I went to a Calvary Chapel church up here in my town up in the Pacific Northwest. My pastor is a great guy, former Marine. And we were talking one day, and I said, hey, what would happen if there's no food on the shelves in the stores? Because, there was shortages, and talks about maybe what if the trucks stop running, and with just-in-time inventories, there's not a lot of food in the back of the stores, right? They have food coming in every day. So we're like, what happens if there's not enough food there? And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure. We have these Vienna sausages and granola bars that we give the homeless people. And I go, yeah, I don't think that's going to cut it. If people in the church start showing up and don't have enough food. And I go, the Mormons, they've been pretty good at that in the past. They would encourage their people to have a year's worth of supplies to take care of themselves. So I said, what if we started some training and trained up the people in our church to be ready for a disaster and emergency, to have a food pantry, to be able to communicate with each other should the cell phones go down and the internet go down, to be able to have power supply for when the power goes out, and heat if the heat's not working in their home, some alternate means of these things. So we started teaching classes to our church, and we'd have him, he was doing a Bible study Sunday nights. He goes, let's change it over to preparedness training. And we had a huge amount of people started showing up. And so one day he comes to me and he says, hey, do you know what Proverbs 22:3 says? And I go, no, I don't. He goes, the wise man sees trouble and prepares, but the fool keeps going and suffers. And I said, oh, that's good. He goes, yeah, we call it Project 223. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's how the name was born, from Proverbs 22:3. So we started teaching classes in our church. And then I started connecting with some other guys. Are you guys familiar with American Contingency?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike Glover started that up, Fieldcraft Survival, right about that time. And he kind of had his famous Get Off the Bench video, and was basically saying, hey, you need to start meeting people in your local areas. You need to start forming neighborhood groups, neighborhood watches, forming groups of people that can take care of each other and help each other out in times of trouble. So I actually joined his organization and met a few guys, and we started connecting. And we kind of moved away from that. We're not really as involved with that as much, but we formed a kind of a cool team. And so that team over the next year got pretty strong. And then we started building it up. And we kind of moved away from just the AMCON, but we just kind of had our own thing going. And we had guys, we had, a Green Beret, we had a Air Force SEER instructor. We ended up having a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, retired guy in our group, another Army officer from West Point, all these different guys with different skills and backgrounds, and then just regular Joes too, contractors, people that work in tech, computer guys, and just the group just started building. And it was pretty darn cool. So as we were building this group up, our Navy SEAL buddy, I'm not going to say his name, but he's this awesome dude. And he kind of sat us down and said, "You guys are great. You guys you got lots of skills and talents. You're pretty good, but you don't really have a plan. You don't have a long-term plan. You don't have anything written down. You don't kind of have." And so I started forming this training plan, and I ended up calling it the Group Preparedness Plan, the GPP. And we have 6 areas that we train in basic personal and family preparedness, planning and logistics, medical, comms, personal protection, self-defense, and the last one is mobility. So we had those 6 areas, and then we formed 3 tiers in each area. So tier 1 is the very basics, right? Everybody should be at a tier 1 level. And then the tier 2 is a little more advanced in each one of those topics. And then tier 3 is like expert level. So, you're probably not going to be a tier 3 in medical unless you're like a trauma surgeon with combat experience, or comms, right? Unless you're like a general ham operator who, was an RTO in the military, you're probably not going to reach level 3 comms. But so we wanted to make it really challenging, so there's always room for people to grow. So I'm putting that into a book and I'm forming that up. And it works really well because in a group, we started using that at our church. And so you just train in each one of these different levels, and people get a checklist where they can check off different tasks that they want to do. And then there's a skills module that tells you how to complete each one of those tasks. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Do you do these classes at your church?
Yep. So we started off doing them at our church, and it's amazing. Some of these people that went from nothing to now, you go talk to them and they've got, a 3-month preparedness pantry. They've got, freeze-dried foods. They've got, reserve of fuel. They've got all this. And you're like, they went from nothing and they're like, yeah, look where I'm at now. And it's really cool to see how people took off with it. And so we did it at our church. And then I also started putting that together with our group. And so our group, we're pretty organized, and we started every month. We'd have a different topic we'd work on. And then I actually have some other churches that have hired me to come and teach classes at their place. So yeah, it's just been growing, and just whoever's open. Also work with Joe Dolio from Tactical Wisdom, the author, and he's a great guy. And we just taught a medical class back in Montana at Shield Field Days. And then also I have a local company here I work with called Training Northwest. Tobin is the owner of that, and he teaches rifle training and different stuff. We just had the 3-day rifleman camp, and where it's kind of like a modern day Minuteman training, where you guys show up with all their stuff in their bag and their rifle. They have to have everything with them in their bag, like they're going to be out on patrol for a couple weeks. And so we lived out of the packs for 3 days. I teach the medical portion and the comms portion, radios. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Just keeps growing and expanding.
Were there non-military people at that? What you just said?
Oh yeah, rifleman camp. Oh, it is not aimed towards military people. This is aimed towards the everyday citizen. And Tobin he was a ranger, was in the Ranger Regiment, and also did some stuff after that with the agency. But the instructors, him and the 2 other instructors, one was an Army infantry guy, the other guy was in the Ranger Regiment with him as well. And then myself, no combat experience. I've gone to quite a bit of, firearms training. I'm an NRA instructor for pistol and rifle, and taken a lot of tactical shooting classes and stuff, but I'm not a combat veteran. But, I have 23 years of experience with medical. So we did some of the TCCC training, and then, radios. I really enjoy the comms portion. Done a lot of training with Brush Beater, NC Scout and so taking the RTO and advanced RTO classes. I'm a ham radio technician. I'm working on my general license right now, but really enjoy the comms portion of it. I don't really nerd out on comms. Like, you get the guys with the propellers on their heads that are all into the antenna theory and all that. And for me, it's a mean to the ends, right? I want to know comms so that I can communicate with my wife, my family, my team, should the SHTF and the cell phones are down, the ISPs are down, I want to be able to communicate with my people. So that's why I like radios.
We preach that, shit is the fan communication. I actually teach classes with a buddy of mine, Jay, and we preach. We're students of Brush Beater as well. We haven't attended any of his classes yet. We mean to, but we've read his books, and I mean that's our Bibles and our field manuals to go do the things. We watch his videos as well.
Another good resource for comms is AMRON, American Redoubt Radio Operators Network. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them at all.
Oh yeah, we work with them in Helene. We had some AMRON guys. They sent people down. We had at any time we had at least 2, up to 5 at a time, and they were real pivotal. We knew my team. We flew drones, and my team, we had the communications thing down. It was just another day in the field for us, but those guys really unfucked a lot of things for the people we were there with. So it was a good show. I mean, they worked hard and they educated a lot of people and sold me on the ham thing. So, and Nivis is my next big, elephant to try to eat. So,
and for people out in the audience that are listening, so there's different types of radios. Just really quick, right? The FRS radios, the bubble pack ones from your Walmart, the ones that people for your campgrounds and stuff, don't take any kind of a license. Next level up, GMRS license, like we're talking about, for $35. Send your name, put your name in on the FCC website. You get an FRN number. You apply for that GMRS license. No test involved, and then within a week or 2, you should get your license. It applies to your whole family. Good for 10 years. Your wife, your kids, your uncle, your stepbrother, they can all use that license. And the thing that's cool about that is that no test involved. And now you can use repeaters. And the beauty of repeaters is most of those radios without a license, you're limited to simplex, which is just radio to radio. And so depending on the curvature of the earth and hills and buildings, you can only talk a short distance. But if I'm using repeaters now from where I'm at, I can hit one on a mountain north of me, talk almost to the Canadian border. I can talk on another mountain to the kind of southeast of me, and it goes down, another, 50, 60 miles south of me. So by using those repeaters, that greatly expands your reach. Now you're still limited by infrastructure. The repeater has to be up, has to be charged, there has to be power to it and all that. But like, I think, Buddy, were you talking about the NVIS just a minute ago?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, right, near vertical incidence skywave. So that's getting into HF communications. And so then now you have to have a general license for ham to use that theoretically, right? But with that, you really start to get into independent communications because you don't need any infrastructure. And the way that works is your antenna goes out horizontally, and you shoot those radio waves up to the sky. They hit the ionosphere. They rain back down kind of like in an umbrella format. So now you can talk 300 or 400 miles away from you without any repeaters. And that's starting to get really independent in your communications. It's a little more technology involved, a little more expensive equipment. And if you want to do it legally, you need to have your general license, which takes some studying. But if you start getting into that, then you really are going to be independent on your communications. Yeah, back to our mutual assistance groups, right? Yeah, no, in part of a mutual assistance group is you have all these different topics that you want to learn. And we have guys in our group that are ham radio licensed. Some guys that are just like, tell me what channel to go on, man. Right? We have other guys that are really good shooters and really good tactical. Other guys that are like, I don't even have anything to put a magazine in a holster or anything, right? So yeah, you have different skills that come together, and then you kind of each guy can work as a trainer for the group and start to bring people up to the same level.
That's an important point. A lot of people, especially that started, at least the people I know, they all started during the pandemic in their prepper journey, and they watched a bunch of videos. And I know for myself, I with the military background, it was a little bit easier for me to adjust to it, but because there's some things I already knew. And I identified some of my shortfalls pretty quickly, and I started trying to tackle them. But a lot of people just, if you're a civilian that doesn't have any of this, military experience or, infantry background or anything like that, you don't really know where to start. And it sounds like with your system that you've come up with, that it takes a lot of that, unknowns out of the equation. It sounds like a really cool, thing for people, and I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah, and then like our buddy Navy SEAL Mike, he said, "Hey, you guys need a plan. You need to have something, a direction to go." And so we had some guys originally on in the group that were like, "Oh man, we don't want to train. We just want to get, there's guys that have some similar interests, like to talk about guns and stuff, and that's cool." And other guys were like, "Man, we got to train. We got to get organized. We got to be ready to go. Time's short and blah blah blah." And so, you're always going to get people on the different extremes that have their own ideas of how things should go. And that's one of the biggest things I think we're talking about tonight would be with the mutual assistance group, how hard it is to bring people together and then keep them on a track working together as a team. You talk to a lot of people, and I've different forums, different, whether it's like Mike Shelby and his Forward Observer, or, different people you talk to, and they're like, it is so hard to put together a group or a team of people and keep them together because there's egos involved. People want to do this, people want to do that. And it's a challenge, right? And we've had for over 4 years, we've had this group and we've been building it up and up. And we've really started to focus on basically, we're a CERT team. So I don't know if you're sure you've heard of CERT before. So Community Emergency Response Team. It's a program set up by the federal government through FEMA and Homeland Security. So it's got the blessing of your local snow. For us, it's our Department of Emergency Management, and they support us. And I say, hey, can I get some manuals for my group? And they go, sure, here you go. And the local fire departments actually hold classes to teach citizens how to be prepared for disaster and emergency. And that's all we're doing, right? So some people are like, oh, what are you, some kind of militia? And it's like, no, we're not. We're a group of people in our area that want to prepare for disasters and emergency. Do I think militias are bad? No, there's areas, and you go up to North Idaho and, we go up there to the Panhandle Preparedness Expo. It's coming up in October, and meet all kinds of great people. And the North Idaho militia's got a booth there. They're great people, and so, but you get some places and it's got this negative connotation, right? So we're just a CERT team, and we may have a few extra, skills and abilities than some other CERT teams, but it makes it pretty simple.
So it sounds like, and I'm just started out with my CERT training. We have a nonprofit that me and we're starting and getting off the ground and stuff, and that's part of the curriculum we're going to need. And I think for people out there in the listening audience that really don't know, they're the Lone Ranger out there trying to prepare. And we've had a couple different podcasts about, communities, networking, mags, and so on, tribes. There's different names for different things. These people are, they don't know where to go in order to find like-minded people. They might be new to an area, or they just really don't know. They're introverts or whatever. And so I think, you might have cracked the code with that CERT training, where, you're going to meet like-minded people if you go to CERT trainings and stuff. Am I off there? Is that kind of?
You're right on the money. And, you always get that feeling now, like you hit it on the head, right? Some people are a little more introverted. They're, I met one guy at a class and I could tell he was a, very competent guy. I could tell he was pretty squared away. And I'm like, this is a good guy to connect with. I started chatting with him. He's like, yeah, I've been kind of praying for, to have some friends and more people that I could hang out with for a long time, but I just never had anybody. And so I started reaching out to him and I started building that relationship. Sometimes, it just takes somebody to step up and be willing to put themselves out there a little bit to try to be a leader. And leadership is another whole nother topic to get on. But this is for people out in the audience where you feel called to put something together and you really want to do it, but you've been struggling with it. And if you have a call to be a leader, you have to be vulnerable. And it takes putting yourself out there a little bit. And I've had people that you talk to and you're like, hey, and like when we were part of AMCON, right? And that was just put out there as connecting citizens together. And then that whole thing came about where FBI tried to make Mike Glover out to be some kind of a, military violent extremist, and they put his name on this list.
You're on the list.
He's like, what the heck are you talking about, man? I'm trying to connect people in their communities. And he actually had to go through, and they actually took him off of that, and we're like, oh yeah, this was wrong. But you can see how you can be misconstrued as something that you're not. So I think that the important thing to make it really clear to people is that we're not doing anything illegal and we're not doing anything immoral. And so if you get people that come in and they're trying to be part of your group and they want to do things that's illegal, right away you should just be like, yeah, you're out of here. Nope,
red flag,
we're not going to take
flag.
it. Yeah, because what happened, back in the day with like Randy Weaver, some people might know his story, right? These guys came to him and like, oh, hey man, could you do this for me? And he's like, nah, I don't want to do it. They pushed him and they got him to, I think it was have a shotgun cut off a little shorter than legal. And then that was their excuse to go in. It was that thing in Michigan, if you remember a while back, where they got those guys to plot to kidnap the governor or whatever. I think in their group, there was like more Fed infiltrators than there actually was people in the group, right? And you had these three guys that are just like, huh? And these guys, let's do this thing. And they're just like, what?
You're talking about Ruby Ridge?
No, well, that was with Randy Weaver.
That was the first one. Yeah.
But this other one, this plot was not too long ago here, was to kidnap, I think it was Gretchen Whitmer.
Yep.
And they got those three guys. They basically entrapped them and then, tried to, it was these federal informants that were coming in, but they were the ones coming up with the plan. These guys didn't have a plan to do it. They just tried to trick them into doing it. So I think the point I'm making is that anybody that wants to do anything illegal or anything immoral, you just know you're not part of this group. And we make it really clear. Anybody that wants to come and be part of our community, it's like, hey, we have a set of standards. You can't be somebody that, drinks or does drugs to the point where it causes a problem in your life. We talk about honesty and having morals. We talk about, respecting each other's privacy, and so stuff like that. We have very, very strict standards. And if somebody's doing something could cause a problem, it's going to be, we just give them the boot. You're just not part of the group anymore. So that's important. And so you talk about being willing to, how can you find somebody? So I encourage people, if you want to do this, you just got to get a little creative. So one thing you can do is, and I've heard people say this, if you have somebody if you can't see them from your porch, right, and shout at them from your porch, are they really going to be able to mutually assist you, right? So if the big earthquake hits or whatever, something happens and somebody lives a long ways away from you, are they going to be able to help you when the S hits the, fan, right? And so try to keep it fairly local to you. Like for us, we tried to keep it in our county. And so we had some guys that were up in the next county and they're like, hey, good friends. And they're like, hey, we want to be part of the group. Like, well, you just live too far away. Try to start something up where you're at. And they would try and they had a hard time. So finally we're just like, okay, we'll include you. So we've expanded a little bit. But one thing I encourage people, like, the first thing you should do is, what's your area of operation? And your area of operation is going to be around your house and in your neighborhood. And that's pretty important. If you haven't read Mike Shelby, right, his book, SHTF Intelligence, you should get that. And he talks about doing an area study. And that's really important. But one thing you can do is have a barbecue in your house and invite people in your neighborhood over for a barbecue. And you can just start talking to people, and you can kind of tell pretty quick people that are like-minded. Like I have some neighbors that live near me, and I can kind of tell, their political affiliation or their mindsets and whether or not there's somebody that I can really, count on or want to build a group with, right? But, start meeting people, going to the CERT class. I've taught CERT classes for years. And the last one, I had a couple guys from my group that said, hey, we want to go get the actual certification. So they went, and I was teaching one of the sessions, and they look at me and they're like, Brent, man, this is bad. We go through way deeper stuff than this in our own group. And I go, yeah, I know. But if you want to get the certification, you got to go through the class. But in that class, out of maybe 10 or 15 people that were there was maybe like 3 or 4 that I thought, this person's a capable person who I maybe want to invite to join our group. So you got to kind of, you just kind of always got to have your eye out for people. And when you see somebody that's interesting, start talking to them, start building a relationship.
With your background, I can see that you'd be a CERT trainer. But if somebody is out there looking for CERT training, where do they go look for it?
That's a great question. So what you do is if you want to specifically do the CERT training, you go to the, I think it's Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and you just Google it, right? Or DuckDuckGo it, right? CERT training, it'll pop up and you can say, check my local area, and it'll show your area, and it pops up for my county, and it'll say, hey, a lot of times it's a fire departments that do it. It might be a local city that does it. Like it used to be for my city, it used to be run through our fire department. And then they actually bumped it up and moved it through the city. So then you had a city emergency manager running it. And she's done a horrible job. It's just not really interested at all. Our county has a person who has CERT as their certs underneath them. The thing about it is, and this is what's interesting about CERT, is that it's kind of like one of the lowest priorities on their list, right? It's like training like the average citizens to be able to do stuff. They don't put a lot of energy and effort into it, and they don't really monitor it that well. So unless you have somebody like in that fire department, like there's another fire department that's down south of us that's really into it, and they put money into it. They've got people that are running it, and they really are interested in it. But you don't have to go through a fire department. You can go through, they say even on the website, it can be a local homeowners association. It could be, a bicycle club that decides they want to make a CERT team. So there's really a lot of leeway there. So you can just say, hey, my local neighborhood group, we want to have my neighborhood CERT team. We want to build that up.
So like a neighborhood watch could become a CERT team.
100%. And who's to tell you, no, you're not a CERT team? Now there's the actual certification, and then like you can actually be deployed as a CERT team. So when I went for the Washington State, it's the 3-day class, was taught by this guy. He was actually a former Green Beret, but he's actually kind of a lefty that works up and down in Olympia. His office is down the hall from, at the time, Governor Inslee. Even now it's Bob Ferguson, which, oh my gosh, don't get me going. But he's the top guy in the state level, and he was teaching me how to train the trainer for CERT. And so I'm getting the certification from him. And but they don't anybody can kind of be their CERT team, and they don't. So they would he said, yeah, they'll deploy or mobilize sometimes. So if you got a really organized CERT team from some fire department, and there's some kind of a disaster like Helene down there or in Texas, they might say, hey, we're going to put you guys together and mobilize you. And you'd probably do something like be sitting at an aid station and maybe
direct traffic.
Yeah, with a clipboard, people coming in and they want some aid. You write their name down and you give them a case of water or something. It's going to be like the lowest level stuff. But so I don't want to be deployed by the government. I don't want to be working under them. I want to be able to do what I want to do, right? And yes, groups like the Cajun Navy, like Grindstone Ministries, these people that have capabilities and are more advanced than just a regular CERT team. And they're going to do the things that they want to do. So you can be a CERT team, but you don't have to deploy with the government. You can do what you need to do in your neighborhood, your community.
We deployed with Grindstone. We had a separate entity going, but they asked us to come down because of our special capabilities. But part of their new trainings, if you want to deploy with Grindstone, you got to start your CERT training. So
yeah. And it's a good foundation, right? I mean, they go through medical, they go through search and rescue, they go through, lifting heavy objects with pry bars and cribbing. They go through, the incident management system, IMS is what they call it. So anytime if you've got, a fire department on scene or it's some kind of disaster emergency, they're going to have the IMS system, which has, the chain of command, and there's organization to the whole thing. So you kind of need to know what's going on that way. And so that's all part of that training, and it allows you to be helpful. And then in our city, they actually had a thing where if you wanted to submit yourself for a background check, they give you a city emergency worker card. So imagine there's a massive disaster, earthquake, something like that. You've got the local sheriff that's blocking a road that's saying, hey, we don't want people going in here, but you need to get in there for some reason to help, one of the guys on your team or to do some kind of an errand. And you show up and they're like, yeah, you can't go. Hey, I'm part of the CERT team. Here's my emergency worker card. I don't know, something like that might get you access where otherwise you wouldn't have access. So who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
You become part of the solution and not the problem. So I don't see,
I like what you're saying too. If you have your own group, then you can do what you want to do, and you can make it grow like you want it to. Like Buddy was saying, he likes doing drones. Well, in our group, we have what we call specialty training groups, STGs, right? So you've got the main group, but then there's guys that are really interested in drones, so they might be the drone team. There's guys that have boats. We live near the water, so now we've got the marine team. There's guys over here that are more interested in self-defense and the skills that are involved there, so they might be
or ham radio or
that radio comms team 100%. So by having your own group and then having these different subject matter experts in these different categories, now those guys that are really good at those things, they can hold a training. So we would have our medical training. Well, guess who put on the medical training? It was the paramedic, it was the firefighter EMT, and those are the guys that did the medical training. Who did the self-defense training? It was the former Green Beret, the former Navy SEAL, right? And so by having different people with skill sets like that, they can hold trainings and bring your group up to a certain level.
I had a group years and years ago. And I've talked about it many times on the podcast. I won't go deep into it, but just for your sake, Brent, there was about 20, 22 of us. And right off the bat, everybody got along pretty well. But right off the bat, I can tell that there was a different mindset. The problem was everybody wanted to be a boss. Everybody wanted to be the leader. And everybody wanted to be a shooter. Everybody wants to be on that team. Nobody wanted to be the medical. Nobody wanted to be the trapper, the cooker, the forager, hunter-gatherer, the builder, the electrician. Nobody wanted to do that stuff. Everybody wanted to do the fun thing, grab the gun and protect stuff. And it's like, that's not how it works.
That's how you get the girl, man. You got to do the romantic shit,
Right.
Yeah. We started holding trainings, when it was area study or, food and water, things of that nature. You didn't get as many people showing up, but sure enough, you hold a rifle training or pistol training and you get guys coming out. Right. So here's my theory on that, right? Is that as a leader, as somebody who's trying to build this group up and trying to motivate people and try to inspire people, right? IMS, inspire, motivate, and support your people, right? And that's an important thing to do. So you want to inspire, motivate, and support. So what I figured out is that, hey, I appreciate that. These aren't professional soldiers. They're not in a paramilitary organization. They're just regular average citizens that have families, that have jobs, right? And so you got to think about that and think, okay, but what's my goal? And I really wanted to have this group, people that I can count on, that could all be up to a certain level. When the need arises, we can mobilize together. But one of the things that's cool is we've helped so many on just regular everyday things. It's amazing. Every year we kind of take a poll. How many times have people been helped by the group this year? And you'll get, 30, 40 responses. My water line was broke and 3 guys came over and helped me dig a new water line. My HVAC system went out, and one of our guys is an HVAC tech, and he came over and saved me $10,000, helping me put in a new heat pump. My daughter's car went around the corner and almost went into a big ditch, and 6 to 8 people showed up with a winch on the truck and, stopped traffic and winched her out of this big ditch. I mean, every year never fails.
Isn't that what it's all about?
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Because the end of the world could happen, but really what it's all about is the everyday emergencies. Of course, we're going to have tornadoes and floods and hurricanes, earthquakes, all those types of things. We're going to have those, civil unrest, all that kind of stuff. But the everyday emergencies is why you want to have a mutual assistant group.
100%.
Well, it's also a good litmus test. If somebody's not going to show up to help you with, you're stranded on the side of the road, Are they really going to show up when the shit hits the fan?
Yeah, there's something to be said about loyalty and being there. We have a emergency traffic channel, so we use a messaging app to talk back and forth, right? We have chat groups, and they're all manner of topics, right? And one of them is emergency traffic, and so that's kind of the 911 for the group. Boy, if somebody posts in there, it's amazing. It's almost like guys are like, they just get a hard on to go and help, right? It's like 8 or 10 guys. Okay, I'll be there, and people are like racing to see who can get there first to help each other.
Right.
And and that's the kind of people that you want to go after. You want to go after those people that are like the sheepdogs. You guys all know the analogy, right? There's the sheep, right? The people out there just kind of going along, right? There's the wolves. There's the bad guys they're out trying to hurt other people and take advantage of people. And there's the sheepdogs. They kind of look like the wolves. They might look a little dangerous, but they're the ones that are out to try to help the sheep, right? Protect the sheep, fight against the wolves. And those are the kind of people that you want. And that's the kind of people we got in my group. We got a bunch of sheepdogs. Boy, if somebody's in need, these guys jump, man. And it's amazing. I love seeing that. I mean, I hate seeing it because it's trouble, but you see that emergency channel traffic pop up and all of a sudden you got all these guys, I could be there in 10 minutes, and they're just racing to get there to help.
Right.
It's awesome.
So that's part of your PACE plan. Then you've got that emergency channel where, I'm assuming that's part of your PACE plan.
Yeah. Well, sure. And PACE plan. And for people out there, and you probably talked about it on your podcast, I talk about it on mine, right? Primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. So for particularly, we have a communications PACE plan. So part of that is having the chat group on there and stuff. But yeah, when emergency, okay, so let's think about this. If something bad happens in your life, right? Somebody gets hurt, somebody's stuck in a ditch. What are people normally going to do? Probably call 911, right?
Yeah, AAA or
tow truck or AAA. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, we kind of changed that. I mean, we take care of ourselves. And that's what I like to talk about is being your own first responder. Are you reliant on 911? Are you reliant on the police to protect you? Are you relying on a fire department or ambulance to come and help you if you have an injury? And I'll tell you, this is kind of funny. Today, all day today and yesterday, I'm teaching for our fire department special operations training for the whole department. So over the next yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the next day, all the engines and all the firefighters in the whole department are coming through my class. And so we're teaching, it's called Rescue Systems 1, and it was designed during the big earthquakes down in Loma Pietra earthquakes down in California. Kind of program came out of there, and it's training everyday firefighters just using an engine that they have to do rescues without special equipment. And so I'm talking to these firefighters, and I'm like, okay, up here in the Northwest, we have what's called the Cascadia Subduction Zone. It's a big giant fault that runs kind of from Northern California up along the coast up to Alaska. And every about 250 years, there's a big earthquake that happens, like really big earthquake, talking 9.0 level, and we're due for one. And they call it the full rip, right? And so if that earthquake hits, it's going to be chaos up here. So I'm kind of talking to these guys about what would happen, if that full rip hits. And guess what? The comment I hear all day. I'm leaving and going home and taking care of my family. So these are the guys, this is 911, these are the firefighters. And they're like, yeah, if the big one hits, I'm going to take care of my family. So if you think...
We've talked about that on the podcast before. I believe that you're going to see that a lot with first responders because their families have to be first in their heart.
They're normal people, right? And if their wife and kids are in trouble, cops, firefighters, I mean, they're normal people. And if you think they're going to put other people's families ahead of their own, now they'll... who knows there's always all varying levels of problems and trouble, but that's the thing, right? Is that, and that's for me, what preparedness is about is it's being self-reliant, it's being able to take care of my own needs without being relying on someone else.
Right. Hey, did you say that you're up in the Pacific Northwest?
Yep. Puget Sound area.
So Bigfoot.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Bigfoot and Sasquatch sometimes get mixed up, but Yeti doesn't mind.
That's fantastic. That's a T-shirt,
Sorry,
man.
that's a dad joke.
Well, and that's where we get our podcast name. Our mascot is Sasquatch.
Yeah, I know.
Patty, actually. And the reason why is because if there truly is a Sasquatch Bigfoot out there in the world, they would be the original prepper survivalist.
Heck yeah, dude.
There is. I mean, come on. We talked about this.
Yeah, we know. Yep.
That's awesome. But yeah, so being able to take care of your own problems should something happen is really important, right? Even just nowadays, if there's a big fire, right? Like our whole city will, it's like moths to a flame on a big fire. I've seen it where there's 2 big incidents that happen and we're tapped out. And I've had, we've had engines and, ladder trucks coming from, 2 or 3 counties away to come try to fill in because your resources get tapped out pretty quick. There's only so many fire engines and cops out there, right? And if there's some kind of coordinated terrorist attack or some kind of major disaster or an EMP, something like that, there's not enough cops and firefighters to take care of the medical needs of everybody and the security needs. You guys heard of the thin blue line, right? I guess some people, they talk about like, oh, that means that the cops watch each other's backs. And I'm like, I don't think that's what it means. It's, the thin blue line is that, that there's this feeling that, hey, if I break the law, if I do something wrong, I'm going to get in trouble. And it's this thin blue line that's holding people to civility, right? But we even start to see little bits of it nowadays where you get these, street takeovers, or you get in some of these inner cities where you get a whole bunch of these youth and they just overwhelm a store and rob it and just go in and take everything. Right? When there's no fear of the law and that you're going to get in trouble and go to jail, anything will go. But it's that thin blue line that kind of holds people into some form of civility. But man, when that goes away and people realize, hey, we saw it in 2020, right? With the Antifa and the BLM rights and all that, and Ferguson and all those things. As soon as people realize, hey, I can do whatever I want, what do? They loot, they rob, they burn things down. So, that to me, I think that's more of what the thin blue line is. That very
no rule of law is a dangerous recipe.
Oh yeah.
It's just, there's too much that can happen. There's too much in there for chaos.
100%.
When you know that you can't get in trouble, it's like the Purge movies, and you can't get in trouble. You got people that are just going to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
So you're up there in the Pacific Northwest. You're in the ring of fire. So you got forest fires, earthquakes. You got volcanoes up there. Mm-hmm. You've also got the threat of tsunamis against the shoreline of your state.
Yeah,
because you got all those earthquakes out in the ocean.
Yeah. Now we're in the Puget Sound there, so you come through the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the Sound, so we don't get it hit directly like the coast would. But there is definitely
you got a barrier.
There's definitely water can come in, and there's different types of tsunamis where the water can slosh back and forth in the Sound and cause problems. So. And so it's not too bad as far as the tsunami goes, but there's definitely with the earthquakes is definitely a big threat.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why what we do is that we try to build this group up so that we can, take care of our own needs first. So you talked about PACE plans. I think that's really important, right? We, as a group, we have a comms PACE plan. So we, as a team, we're like, hey, what's our primary means of communication? Well, we text each other or we call each other or we use a signal message.
Cell phones.
Yeah, cell phones. And it's like, okay, well, what happens if the cell towers are down? What do we do next? Right? And so then to me, it's like, hey, I could use, if the internet's still up, I can try sending texts. Texts go through a little bit better than calls do. So you can send a text, but if the internet's up, I can try sending an email. So we actually have, alternate. We have some stuff down for an alternate with the ISP still up. What about a contingency? Cell phones are down, internet's down. Now what? Start getting into two-way radios, right? Start using repeaters, certain channels, and then you get into some type of a comms plan, right? An SOI, signals operating instructions. So you say, hey, we're gonna, like they have the Channel 3 project. Have you guys heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of it.
It's Amron kind of puts that out, but they basically say, go to Channel 3 for 2 minutes every 1 hour. So 3, 2, 1. So they say it's it's MERS channel 3, CB channel 3, GMRS channel 3, and then they have a simplex. I believe it's like 146 point something. And so they have, you go onto those channels and try to make contact with people. So they have, it's kind of a protocol. There's another protocol called the wilderness protocol. So if you're lost in the woods and people are trying to find you, they say between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. every 3 hours, you're going to go online. You're going to go on the radio for like 5 minutes every 3 hours. And what that does is it gives you like a comms window. So you come on, try to make contact. If you can't, then you just shut it off. That way you save your battery. So you're not just sitting there.
That's outstanding.
With the battery on. And then you wait till the next comms window and then you power on. And then hopefully you can try to reach them in one of those windows. So we have our own protocol that we have certain times that we have a window, and then we try to make contact. We have certain channels that we use. And then for the emergency, we have things like dead drops. We have areas where each guy has an area near his home where he can leave a message if he has to flee. You know, his home gets overrun by criminals.
That's gangster, man.
Holy burned shit. Down or whatever.
That is awesome.
You have an area where he can leave a little cylinder with a little waterproof cylinder, leave a note in it in the dead drop area, or maybe a bulletin board where he can leave a coded note on there. And then that way, if he's gone and his team buddy comes and tries to find him and his house is burned down or somebody's raided it and attacked it, they can go and he can find an area where you got a message left for him. So yeah, that's part of the PACE plan, right? Having alternate and contingency and emergency means to communicate.
Well, I've never heard of dead drop. That's money right there.
Well, when he was going through the PACE configuration, and I was trying to think of emergency before he was talking about it, I was thinking, what would be the emergency? And I never would have thought of that. A dead drop. That's awesome.
Because it has to be something the emergency has to be foolproof, right? Like you can't rely on, a repeater or radios that take batteries or the internet or cell towers, right? Any kind of a PACE plan you use, that emergency has to be that foolproof method. And
right.
So
about February 22nd, I think it was a year and a half ago, there was a nationwide outage and some of the 911 centers got taken out. I think, mostly every cell was out. A lot of the Wi-Fi was out. So that opened my eyes up to a lot of things. And I don't really, I can't remember exactly.
Was that the AT&T? I didn't have an outage. I didn't experience it.
Okay. Yeah. We had an outage where it was weird because an Android phone, I could actually get on the Wi-Fi. But my daughter, who had Apple phone, she couldn't get on the Wi-Fi or the cell. And it opened my eyes up because there's a possibility that everything goes down. Cell towers go out. Basically you're on the FM waves with your radios and stuff from that point. But a lot of people really rely on their Wi-Fi or their cellular and stuff, and I did some consultations with people. They're like, well, what do I do? Will these radios talk to my daughter 50 miles away? And it's like, well, no, it's only a Baofeng radio, a 5 watt, you're not going to get that far. But I think that's a good point to, with that dead drop. That would be, and your comms windows. We used to do it in the military where we had comm windows and wow. I think that's going to open up some eyes.
Yeah. So a couple of things that people can look at, they can search from the internet, look in YouTube. I would encourage people, the University of YouTube is amazing. You can learn so much on there. And so, you can go on there, type in Channel 3 project. I think a video from Amron will come up and they'll talk. They actually have a video. It's pretty old, but it's Get Your Comms Up. And it's John Jacob Schmidt. And he's talking about, and actually have a little dramatization on how this gal uses it to meet, to save her when she's, trapped in the, lost in the wilderness and stuff. But find something like that. And just to kind of hit back a little bit, focusing on our mags again, people may say, well, yeah, we talked a little bit about how to connect with other people. I was just thinking about it as we were talking. So we talked about CERT training, right? like sign up for a local CERT training. You'll meet people there. Look for some people that are kind of like-minded to you, you know, and then connect with those people and say, hey, I'd like to kind of build this a little more and meet a little more often and talk about this stuff, right? If at your church, hopefully you go to a church that's a, you know, God-fearing, liberty-loving patriots. I know our church, man, you probably have at least 10 to 15 guys concealed carrying every day. So find a church that's like-minded to you, and then and then connect with some people in there and talk about preparedness. Training companies, like for example, I work with Training Northwest, is a company up here, and then so they do classes, and so I help teach some of these classes, and I see the same guys showing up, and these are guys that are interested in training, and you can watch them and you can see them in action. I go, hey, that guy's cool. He's a good dude. He doesn't get drunk and act like an idiot. He can shoot, he can move. And I start talking to him, get to meet him a little bit. I'm like, hey man, you want to come and do some extra training with us? So you can recruit people from training classes, right? Training Northwest, there's NC Scout does his RTO classes and stuff like that. So find a training company in your area that does that kind of stuff, maybe like a gun club or something like that, and start meeting people there. Different groups. There's a group called PrepperNet. You guys ever heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, PrepperNet. They're all over the United States, and they have groups. And now I haven't really dug into that in my area, but you know that might be a place to look at. Now you want to be really careful, right? You want to vet people. You want to make sure you don't, you know, just start giving out a whole bunch of your information and not knowing who these people are. So we're very serious about vetting people. We want to know who this person is, get some of their background. You know, we always want to see people's driver's license and their concealed carry permit. So we make them show us that if they want to be part of our group and they want to go through the vetting process, kind of see who they are. And then ideally you find people that you've known for a while or somebody else knows, not just some random person that just pops up. So try to find people that you know and start bringing them into your group. But your church, and then Amron, join up Amron and find people that are in your area, but you know they're going to be like-minded people. So those are just some ideas that I wanted to throw out there as far as places that, you know, American Contingency, it's still a good option. Like me and my another buddy from our group, we're like the moderators for our county up here for American Contingency. If somebody pops on there, we see him, and we've had a couple guys in our group. They popped into the chat thing, and they're like, hey, you know, I'm a local guy here in this area. And I'm like, cool. You want to get together and meet? And it's funny. You find the people that just want to be the chairborne warriors and, you know, keyboard warriors, and they want to be on the internet, but they don't want to meet. I don't know. I'm pretty busy. Right. So, and I don't waste my time with those people. It's like some people, they just live to sit and chat it up, and they're always commenting, always chatting. And they say, hey, you want to meet with this one guy? And I was like, he met him, and he's like, oh, you know, yeah, I'm up in your area. I'm like, cool, let's get together. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I go, my name is Brent, blah, blah, blah. And here's what I do. I work for this fire department. And he's like, whoa, you know, my mom and dad taught me not to just give away my name to random people on the internet. And I was like, dude, what do you mean? I mean, I'm being vulnerable to you. Well, you know, you can't blame me. So I thought, okay, guess what? I'm going to find out who this guy is. So I started using open source intelligence, and I found his little picture, his little icon on his picture. And I kind of blew that up, and I could see in a reflection, I could see his face. And then I was able to, by using some stuff in his picture, I was able to find out where he was at. And then I started doing some just open source stuff. And then I was like, wait a minute, dude, you already have been talking to me and gave me your name in another chat with another group. So I go, your name's this, you live here, you do this. And he's like, oh, yeah.
I think they call those trollers. I don't know.
I was like, come on, man. But I just thought it was kind of funny because people think, you know, I'm going to be a secret squirrel. And I'm like, do you really think you're that important but the federal government's going to come after you? I mean, you know, and if they do, it's like, you know, you just got to be smart about things. If you're not doing anything illegal or immoral, and you just are just being yourself, you know, you just got to kind of put yourself out there a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. So, Brent, we're coming up on the end here. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with Mags, or do you want to give I don't know, some kind of closing thoughts or anything like that?
Well, sure. Well, I really appreciate getting to chat with you guys. I've enjoyed your podcast. You guys got a lot of good information out there. So thanks for doing it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. And I'm going to be a longtime listener in there and continue to follow you both. It's great hearing like-minded people sharing good information out there. So thanks for doing that. Yeah, check out Project 223 podcast. Once you've listened to the Tops Bunker, come over and give it a listen. Lots of good information. Just encourage you to, if you feel the call to start a group and to build up a team, like I say, it's a calling, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice, but in the end, it's really worth it. And you got to be kind of a little bit of a politician. You got to be, a peacemaker sometimes. Recently we had a guy whose wife had a business, and somebody from the group's wife went to the business, and there was a misunderstanding, and the guy got mad and was going to quit. And I was like, whoa. And, and I had to get this guy talking to this guy and figure out what went wrong. And we worked it out, but it takes work, and it takes humility too. And so you want to build a team of strong, talented people, but also people that have humility and that are willing to be more givers than they are takers. And it's hard to do. And then just working hard to bring the whole team up, being willing to, share knowledge you have and then receive knowledge other people have. And that's what we do, is we just say, okay, we want everybody to be at a certain level on comms, everybody to be at a certain level with their firearms. And we just work hard to try to get everybody up to that. And then we just keep increasing our training. So like I say, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. And remember, nobody's going to come to save you when the S hits the fan, right? So you need to be ready and to be resilient and self-reliant.
My prepper brothers and sisters, when the world around you comes crashing down and chaos is growing, you'll need your mag more than you know. You and your people are going to fight together. You're going to rebuild together. You're going to survive together. Lone wolves don't last long in the wild. That's what the pack is for. So ask yourself, who's in your circle? Who's got your back? Who will you trust when the world stops playing nice? That's the real strength of a mutual assistance group. The confidence of knowing you're not facing the storm alone. Together, you're smarter, stronger, and more resilient than you could ever be on your own. Stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Rivers winding round, words in my head. Shivering pines say that summer is dead. Chest feels hollow and my hands are numb. Do my best to swallow all the things I've done. You break your back, but you still don't have bread. You won't go back on the things that you said. You bleed your heart out, and it takes every drop. You've come too far now to ever stop. Wash me in the water and I'll never go back, even when I'm walking to dead man pass. You can't trust a man 'cause he'll just let you down. Crooked and twisted, we grow from the ground. From dust we came in, dust we shall return. From dust we came in, dust we